I'm going to go ahead and get everyone checked in. And so start with Mr. Garland. If you could just unmute for me, give me your full name and who you're representing here today, whether you're a neighboring property owner or someone else.
Yep. Name is Brent Garland with BG Design LLC to be the builder on the Donnelly residence.
Okay, great. Welcome. All right, I see that we have Trey Sheldon here from the planning department. Welcome, Trey.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Right. So Mr. Donnelly is going to try and get back in. He was having some trouble connecting to audio. Also have Lindsay Dressman here. Ms. Dressman, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm a neighbor to the property.
Okay. Are you here to observe today, or do you want to provide some testimony or ask some questions?
Observe.
Okay, great. Welcome. All right. Let's see if Mr. Donnelly is connected now. Mr. Donnelly, are you with us? If so, if you could unmute and activate your camera.
There we go. You guys got me now?
All right. I do, yeah.
Sorry, my audio was having issues connecting.
Saw that, yeah. You are the applicant and the owner on this, correct?
Correct.
All right, great. Are you expecting anyone else to join us here today other than Mr. Garland before we get started?
I do not expect anyone else to join.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get into it then. I need to read through the hearing script. This will cover the procedure for the hearing and then we'll get started. So this is the August 21st, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. Case before us is case number ZH20240081. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So I'll allow Mr. Garland and Mr. Donnelly to tell me anything about the project I think is important and, of course, why I should grant the relief that's requested. If there were anyone here from the public that wanted to speak, they would have an opportunity to do that after the applicant had presented its case. I'll hear from the planning department and Mr. Sheldon. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly. But to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. All right, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So anyone that intends on providing testimony here today, if you could take yourself off mute, I'll need you to raise your right hand and to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. I do.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, who's going to be taking the lead for us here on the applicant's presentation?
Brent will take lead on that.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I'm not sure what, if any of these attachments or if our written statement was in front of you or not.
I have all the application materials.
Okay. Basically on Patrick's lot, we're looking to build it's a 4-story, same as the rest of the new builds on the street. At the very end, if you're looking at all the houses all the way to the right, the only two major requests for relief are for the maximum building height, and we are requesting an average of 2'11" over the guidelines for the hillside. With that 2'11", we still maintain below the neighboring property, the proposed lot 2 home, and even lot 3 and 5. So we didn't foresee any reason that would be higher or more of a nuisance than any other home on the street, and the design is to be built to fit in with the development of the rest of Feemster Street as it has come along. And then the other one was excavation and fill, approximately 17.1 feet from the base development requirements. So that is just due to the nature of the lot with the street heading down in elevation as we get to the end of the street, and the back of the lot heading up along Columbia Parkway. So just to get the home down into a level playing field with the rest of the home so that we can continue the sidewalk down the development all the way through and then on into local businesses. And just to finish off a cohesive development of Feemster Street and all. So, and to keep the driveway from being too crazy steep for obvious reasons. So those are the two main requests of us. Anything else I should expand on? Anything else you could think of, Patrick?
No, well said, Brent. Thank you.
Cool.
Right. Anything else, Mr. Donnelly, you wanted to add before I move on to planning?
No, I think Brent explained everything perfectly well.
Okay. Trey, anything you want to add here?
Sure. Actually, the relief for the height is around 3 feet 5, because you average you take the average grade at the front of the building line to get the to do where you do the measurement for height.
Yeah, my mistake. You're right.
No worries, no worries. The two sides of the dwelling have slightly different grades. So you actually have like 311 at one side and 2'11" at the other. And the point of the average in the middle it was 3 feet 5. So that's
right.
Basically what they're seeking there. In my staff report, I noted that was very consistent with a lot of the other. I pretty much went through and itemized the previous relief. I realized, David, that each case is de novo, but in the context of this neighborhood, it's all been one development, somewhat similar topography and similar relief requested. So I've itemized those 39, 16 feet. Some of them, I will note by way of explanation of my staff report, I didn't elaborate on it too much, but 3954 and 3966 Feemster originally received relief, but for height, but because the dwellings next to them, they basically expired. Those were red knot project. One of them was red knot and one was not, but they basically, red knot came in originally and got relief from you. Okay. And then they didn't go ahead and build within the time. Basically their hearings from 2020 told, right? They expired. And so when they came in for new relief, they didn't need relief for height at this point because the adjacent buildings had already been constructed and the average of those was greater than, does that make sense to you?
It does. Yeah.
They didn't need relief for the second hearings in 2024 because now they're not using the base anymore. They're using the built structures on either side of them as the basis for their envelope. So basically, I feel that this is pretty much in line, right? Almost dead down the middle. Some of these, the greatest relief was for 3948 Feemster, which was 4 feet in height. Relief was granted for 3936 and 3942 for 3 feet 11. Several other ones for the one for 3 feet and others for 2 feet 11, which is the one side of this dwelling is 2 feet 11 from grade. So,
Trey, if you could, on that note, could you talk at all about how the proposed depth of this structure differs from others that have been approved and what impact that had on the cut fill?
Sure. Yeah, I can. It is different in that the lot is 2 to 3 times wider. And so rather than having sort of terrace off the front, like some of these smaller, more row house type of dwellings. Patrick and his design team have sort of, there's one inset terrace in on the front of it, and then it steps down to the stepping goes down slope to the east rather than to the south, if that makes sense. So he didn't really need to have, because the house is wide enough, they have both outdoor space with views and also considerably more windows on the front facing toward the river and so on, because of the width of the house. There was no, unlike some of the other dwellings, there was no relief needed for setbacks because they had ample space in which to construct here. They also didn't need any big retaining wall or anything back behind, or any sizable any retaining wall at all behind. The only retaining wall in this project is a little wing wall, which you can kind of see on the elevation drawing. It basically holds back the hillside to the west where the front door is. In other words, to gain access to the front door, they're not going to have mud sloughing off into their driveway or where their front entry is. As to the excavation, I would think that this would actually, one would think based upon as it goes down slope that they would need less excavation than some of the other projects. However, as I've provided you with the photograph on the street, which shows there's a large existing stone retaining wall at the street level. By the time you get down to that lower part of Feemster, basically the slope is dropping considerably from Columbia Parkway down for all the lots. But as you get down this east part of Feemster where Patrick's lot is, it starts dropping down to the east as well, right? So, there's a retaining wall that just continues tapering higher and higher, until you get to the end of Patrick's lot and the intersection with McCullough Street. So part of the reason for why the excavation and fill is about similar to what some of the other ones were. It's slightly less than some of them, but the chief reason is because they're not having to basically dig into where that old retaining wall is and get a driveway to fit in there that goes down to the grade of the street. So it's a little more of a challenge there. That part of the topography, and I would point out that's really not natural topography, David. I mean, there was development here, many decades ago, and a retaining wall built probably way before any of us were born. And so that I'm just pointing out that they, in order to put a driveway in there, they've got to take out that retaining wall, and that's a little bit of, I believe they're kind of working in tandem with the property to the west, which also requires having the I think that's the project that Heather Estridge presented before you. And that in order to complete that house, they're going to have to basically take out that section of the wall too. So they're going to have to work together to make sure that the soil's dealt with and so on. So to the extent that matters, I'm pointing out they're not that part of the excavation is not digging into something that would be the natural topography of the land at all. It's clearly been altered already. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's what's driving the excavation part of it. Otherwise, they're doing it pretty minimal. They obviously didn't step as much with the foundation into the hillside as some of the other projects, but that's simply because the house isn't as deep. It's like twice as wide and half as deep, if that makes sense. Its orientation is to the frontage, so there really wasn't room to be doing a step up in the back for a back terrace or something like that, or a back deck. They just didn't need to do that because the house just simply isn't as deep. So anything else you'd like me to speak to?
No, that's it. I appreciate your testimony and your work on the staff report here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'll turn it back over to the Mr. Garland, Mr. Donnelly. Anything else you want to say in response to any of Trey's comments, or in closing or otherwise, before we adjourn?
Oh yeah, I think Trey spoke well, and he's been a big help with this project in regards to moving it forward. So I don't think we would be in this circumstance where we are without his guide. So I want to just thank him officially for all of that work.
Okay.
That as well.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
So we'll leave it at that then. I've had a chance to review the application materials. I You know, I'm very familiar with development on the street. I think I've been looking at these for the past 4 or 5 years now. And so, you know, based on all of that, based on the testimony that I've heard here today, I think that this is fairly consistent with surrounding development. And the relief requested is modest and consistent with surrounding development as well. So based on all of that, I am going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. That will take about 2 weeks. As soon as I finish that, I put it into PDF. I'll email it to everybody in the hearing here today. You'll have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. Mr. Donnelly, Mr. Garland, as soon as you have that, Trey can approve the zoning permitting on his end, and you guys can take the next steps. Any questions about any of that?
No, thank you.
No.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Great.
One other note, I did note, Brent, that it looks like Sam Thompson or one of the customer service folks did confirm your extension of your permit. So
Yep.
if this takes a couple weeks, just know that as soon as I get the I'm going to be I'm trying to think of the timing of this. If the decision comes out within 2 weeks, I'll still be in town, but I am leaving to go out of town by the 6th of September. So I will alert one of my colleagues that if for whatever reason David slammed and it can't get the decision issued before that, I will alert perhaps my colleague Wes Munzel, who will be here in town, so that he can know that this is approved. So in fact, David, if you could, if for some reason the decision is going to come out after the after the 6th, if you wouldn't mind copying like Wes or one of the other ZPEs, if you could, please, because they'll have to, cover the permit for me in my absence.
Yep, that's no problem, Trey. I'll
right.
I'll CC Wes and Emily to make sure that someone there.
Excellent. This project's been long in the tooth here, so I really don't want to hold them up anymore unnecessarily. So
sure,
great,
sure, yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Yeah. All right, great. Well, are there any other questions? All right. All right. Well, good luck with the project, guys. Hope you all have a great day, and we are adjourned.
You do the
Thank
same.
you.